All right, Ruthless fans, well, yeah, I see why people wanted me to review this episode as quickly as possible. It was great. I honestly loved this episode from start to finish, and sad to think that next week is the finale. So, what we're doing here, we're going to be looking at season 1, episode 23, entitled Live Bait. Ruth's obedience is tested. Lilo pressures the highest to expedite a plan. Brian is concerned about the Rakudushi's deviation from routine. And Andrew confronts Malcolm and Sarah. This episode still has little bits and pieces of the same redundant storylines in regards to one person trying to figure out what's wrong with another and things like that. But thankfully, those scenes really didn't take up a lot of time. But make sure you go ahead and like the video, hit subscribe, click the bell notification icon and select all. That way you don't miss out whenever I post new content to the channel. And follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. What would I score this episode? Let me just do a quick check over the notes here. 9 out of 10. It was good. Honestly, now that I think about it, we didn't get a lot of Ruth and Tally. They were at the beginning of the episode, but a majority of the episode definitely felt like we were having a good balancing act between what's going on at the compound, what's going on at the police station, what's going on in the lives of, or what's going on with Cynthia, Lynn, Malcolm, and Sarah. So I feel like this is the first episode in a while, or at least in the back half of season 1, where it felt like we were literally touching base with a lot of the original characters as opposed to just the new members that we found out about in the compound during the second half of season 1. So we pick up where we left off. The highest wants Ruth to beg for her life, threatens to behead her, which I found increasingly awesome as I rewatched the scene 3 times. Just because of the fact that he said behead her, I honestly got Denise vibes from The Oval, because remember, Ruth and Denise are twins and she ended up beheaded. She calls her an evil temptress and was wondering why were you crying at the coordination, the seating special, if you will. And she wants him, not Daikon. She pretty much is begging, why are you doing this? What did I do to offend you? I'm not a temptress. I didn't have sex with anybody. Why do you use special soap? Insect repellent. And basically, he's saying, take my sword, cut your face, because you're too pretty. And then Daikon is, rushing around the compound. Where's the highest? And then he comes across Tally, and Tally's like, he's in there with Ruth. And then he's banging on the door. Your highest. And Ruth, is about to cut herself, but eventually he's like, nope, don't do it. You're really going to do it though, huh? And then he calls out Daikon, why were you yelling? Lilo's here. You like my sword? She's not prettier than me. It pretty much felt like a twisted version of Snow White in a way, where the highest was the evil queen and he couldn't deal with Ruth being, I guess you could say, more sought after than him. But apparently he foresaw, if you will, that Ruth would be a problem given the fact that she's so beautiful. But at the same time, it would almost be like a faith check with the male members of the Raqu. It's like, if you could have someone like Ruth around yet still remain pure, then you truly are one with the Raqu. So basically, Ruth is a tool to the Raqu in a way. Well, then again, that goes for all the members, but Ruth especially, because the highest sees a purpose in her. Now, wifey material, we'll have to wait and see. So once Daikon and highest leave to go see Lilo, Tally rushes in to check on Ruth. She's okay because she's dealt with this kind of crap before from a previous pimp who pretty much, is a total asshat when he's high and likes to, flaunt his powers around. Basically, the authority that he has over her. So this reinforces my, theory that Ruth will probably stay within the Raqu, if for no other reason than to bring it down from the top, because of the fact that she's been pissed off. I feel like that's what's really going to do it. It's kind of like, when Zane and Paula got on their nerves. Now it's like, oh yeah, I want to get these girls in line. But now the highest has officially pissed her off. I feel like this is building up to Ruth really working to bring down the compound instead of just escaping. So we go over to Brian at the market, because remember the Raqu, some of the female Raqu members were supposed to be there, because I think it's every Thursday they go grocery shopping, but he runs into Dale, who we haven't seen or heard from in a while. And, he's like, well, hey, are any of the Raqu members here? Oh, no, they usually come like clockwork this time of the week, but nothing today. Must be something going on. And he pretty much lets Brian know that, hey, even if you want to talk to them, they probably won't tell you much, because the women, if you try to talk to them, they just, smile and get really quiet. And why do you want to talk to them? Is it about this missing girl? And Brian's like, no, I just wanted to talk with him. So I couldn't make out the picture of like who the missing girl was. I don't know if it was a child or like, a young adult, but I'll probably try to go back and see if I can find that particular screenshot. But at first I thought, was it what is her name? The girl that got killed, and then Elder Mother said that she would be Ruth's body, but I don't remember. So then we go over to the highest and Daikon. They go over to see Lilo. Clark and Daikon wait on the outside, and basically we learn that Lilo's name is Lawrence, or as he wanted to be called, Mr. Benjamin. I don't know if Benjamin is his last name or if he wants to be called Mr. Benjamin because of money purposes. I don't know. But he wants the highest to move quickly in regards to moving these drugs. And the highest like, well, we're trying to get a bus fix. And it's like, nope, I'll bring a van tomorrow. Don't worry about it. And essentially, what did he say? The kids, you wrap the drugs up in a condom, have the kids swallow it, and then when they go to the bathroom, you get the drugs out that way. Ew. All right. So he doesn't want the highest talking down to him, and the fact that he has a sword in his hand is like, oh, you're trying to get tough with me? Take the bass out your voice. And when it comes down to it, here's something interesting we learn. So Lilo is, kind of like a middleman, if you will. It's like you got the Raqu, then you got Lilo, and then you got a cartel. And the cartel knows every time Lilo comes to the compound, because if anything happens to Lilo, like let's say if the highest starts to get big with him, or let's just say, for example, if the highest took his sword and beheaded Lilo right there, the cartel would have come down hard on the Raqu. They would have just shut the crap down right there. So basically the cartel is Lilo's insurance to let the highest know that if you ever think about doing anything to me, then the cartel is going to come after you. Could the cartel, I don't think it's the Malones per se, but it would be an interesting concept. What if it isn't the Malones, but what if it's Julian's family from If Loving You Is Wrong? Like Tyler Perry loves these powerful families or cartels, and he could definitely do something with bridging the gap. Remember, in the Oval, it's apparently these 5 families, so I'm just saying, you never know. So after he tells, the highest that he'll be back tomorrow with a van for those kids, that, they'll get this thing moving quickly. And, to get a cell phone, that way he doesn't have to come down to this stinky compound all the time. And apparently, the reason that the compound was, I guess you could say Lilo put a lot of money into the compound, is because he's able to write it off as a church. So basically, it's all a front for their illegal activity. So after he comes out of the house, he tells Daikon to get Elder Mother or that OB to make him some food, which I thought was kind of weird. Reason being is, one of the first times Lilo shows up, Daikon says, would you like me to get you something to drink? He's like, hell no, the last time I had something here, I was high as hell. So it's like the fact that he says, I want a meal, but he doesn't specify, I don't want something that'll make me high, was a bit awkward. But I don't know, it was funny. So after that, and then I love like the Elder Mother, she was kind of, shuffling, from one location to another. But then it's funny, after he says, move your ass, she moves even slower and then chuckles to herself. So then he gets the other Elder Mother to take him to the finance trailer to look over the books. So then after he leaves, Daikon goes in to check on the highest, kind of like Tally did with Ruth at the beginning of the episode, and kind of like Ruth, the highest is just upset, except he's not as able to hold it together as Ruth. So basically, he just can't stand the fact that Lilo can just come and go as he pleases, talk to the highest the way he wants to, and there's really nothing he can do because Lilo, as much as he hates the way Lilo treats him, Lilo's the only thing keeping the highest from either going back to jail or dying. All right, so after that, we have, Daikon just gets kicked out. And I think the highest said, they only gave us like $10,000, and the fact they just try to run over us like this is ridiculous. So the elder mother brings food to Lilo, and just to, sum it up quickly, Lilo is just rude. Calls her all kinds of names, even calls out the other elder mother when she tries to put him straight. Get out of here, Porky. Oink, oink. And I believe her name is Joan. Joan was the one who was set up as a, spy to see if Tally and Ruth are really loyal to the cult. She pretty much tries to explain to Lilo the ins and outs of the books. How they try to hide the money. They use the mail system. And he's like, why don't y'all use email? What y'all doing? It's like technology. So after that, we go over to Cindy and Lynn. They're having their cookies and ice cream. And Lynn basically is just one of those people who cannot take criticism. Well, to be fair, she was being honest when Cynthia kept asking her questions. But Lynn just doesn't want to be called out for any of her own misgivings. But essentially, there was a point on Christmas, I think, that Cynthia had just had a miscarriage. And Malcolm tried to flirt with Lynn. And I'm like, wait, what? And apparently, Lynn knows that Malcolm has a reputation. Anytime one of his coworkers are on assignment, he'll try to get after the wives, but only the weak ones fall for it. So after that, Lynn can't deal with Cynthia, just not even criticizing her, but just saying, hey, after everything I've been through just now, just realize you have a good man. Like, why do you feel like you're unfulfilled in your marriage? Long story short, she's just bored. The fact that she feels unfulfilled, the fact that, Brian just wants to take care of her instead of allowing her to go out, go back to the police force and whatnot. And basically, Brian's a boy. She wants a man. And, at the compound, he should have seen all those men and everything like that. And Cynthia's like, you're not going back there. But she gets up and leaves. And then that's the end of that. Lacy's in the shower as the elder mothers walk by. And they talk about how proud they are of the fact that, hey, just wash yourself off. You did great for the Raqu. You served the highest well. She was raped by a large amount of men, and they pretty much scold her, basically like Mariah Carey, just say shake it off and move forward. And then after that, she's talking with Zane, and she doesn't want to talk with anybody because she's still upset. Oliver wants to talk to her, but Zane's like, no, she doesn't want to talk to you about anything. And then they go to the next scene. The sheriff, as I predicted, watching the footage of Melinda and Poke, which begs the question, if Melinda and Poke did the dirty on his desk, then how is he still sitting at his desk? I know I'll be like, sanitize. But, it's funny because Brian walks in at that moment. He's like, hey, Brian, sounded like you were watching porn, sir. No, I wasn't. And then basically he's like, hey, I went down to the market, wasn't able to find anything out about the Raqu because they weren't there, which was kind of different from their usual schedule. And, Brian is thinking that something weird's going on. And the sheriff is like, well, I mean, if there was something going on, like shot fired, I would have heard about it because the Morrisons, they call me about everything. They live like 5 minutes away from the compound. But, Brian's like, hey, can you call our, what's going on? He calls the Morrisons, no answer. Fine, let's go back up there. And the sheriff's like, okay, we're not going to the compound, but we're going to the Morrisons. And I'm like, Brian, I don't know, man, because if he, remember the last time you went up there unannounced and, that almost led to everybody dying or the kids dying? Not a good thing. So then we go over to Poke and Melinda. I think Poke had just finished eating the breakfast that Melinda made for him because remember he worked the night shift and he doesn't want her to leave or go to the Raqu. And she tries to flip it on him. Was like, are you being a sheriff right now? A deputy? I'm like, no, I just want to take care of you. And basically it's like, okay, I'll take a shower. You don't go anywhere. So we have a brief scene with them. And I'm wondering like what the sheriff's going to do about, the sex in the office. But remember, I wonder how far into the tape he would have gotten if Brian didn't interrupt because remember, he passed out a few moments into the sex because of the food he ate. And then you had Melinda like covering the cameras before Clark, and then another Raqu member came in there to look through all the information. So there's a lot we don't know just yet. All right, so then we go over to Lilo and Joan. He talks about how the food tastes good, like curry. And once again, like, what the hell did she do to the food? So he wants to know what the highest does to keep all these women in check. And throughout the episode, he's kind of like, you good at blowjobs? You ever have an orgy? Basically making her extremely uncomfortable while she's trying to find the information about, you know, the books. So we go over to Zane and Oliver, and basically he's like, look, Lacy loves you, but she doesn't want to talk with you right now. And I'm not going to tell you what happened because I know if I tell you, you're going to do something reckless. And you knowing what they did to her isn't going to help Zane at all. It's just going to isn't going to help Lacy at all. It's going to make things worse. And she's absolutely right, because Oliver is just, you know, in his feelings. Oliver and Tally, I'm not saying they should hook up. I'm just saying that Oliver and Tally are kind of cut from the same mold in regards to if they're lovers in trouble, they will lose their freaking minds. So she will keep Oliver posted when she can, but then she leaves. And then we go over to the last scene of the episode. Andrew watches as Malcolm pulls up to his house. Sarah lets him in, and then he rushes across the street to sneak in through the back. Basically, Malcolm tells Sarah everything that happened. Look, I got into an argument with Cynthia. She kept grabbing me. I pushed her. She hit her head. I think she's going to call the cops, but, you know, it wasn't something intentional. And, you know, he wants to take things to the next level because, well, he got suspended from work, but it's like, fine, I won't stay here because, you know, you still your son and everything. I'll just go to a hotel. And as, you know, they're trying to unwind with some scotch or whatever, that's when Andrew comes in with a gun. It's like, look at your ass getting comfortable in my home, drinking my scotch. Take his cuffs and put them on him. He wants to know how all this started. And basically it's like Malcolm went after Sarah, and because she was vulnerable, because Andrew was never there, and it's like, oh, what are you going to do? Kill us? And then that's where the episode cuts off. I like the episode. It was really good. I really can't wait to see what next week is going to be. And I can now really see how season 2 is going to happen in terms of how they're going to move forward with the story. Like I said, I think they did a good job of balancing this episode to show a lot of different characters, as opposed to just sticking with the compound and Oliver trying to find out what's wrong with Lacy and Ruth conspiring with Tally. I feel like that's what was a strong point of the episode. We got a lot of show instead of a lot of tell, because we don't need Ruth having meetings with Tally or River lurking around every single week. We got to see different locations, different story arcs, and hopefully it all comes together for one hell of a finale next week. So 9 out of 10. I love the expansion with the cartel, and just the fact that Lilo is just, you know, he gives no F's. It's like, oh, you can't talk to us that way. Man, I can talk to you any way I want to. I'm the one that keeps this place going. So thanks so much for tuning in. And if you want to donate to the channel, feel free to do so on PayPal, Cash App, or join Patreon for as little as $1 a month.